As long as I can think, I listen to music.
I've started my listening career as most people with listening to radio and eventually buying a CD. Those CDs contain genres like pop, rock or EDM. Years later, I've started to look deeper into some genres, techno, metal or diverse core genres, as for example Frenchcore or metalcore are genres most people are familiar with, even those who are non-music enthusiasts. But after hopping even deeper down the music genre rabbit hole, you'll find genres you'd never have thought they'd exist. Today, we'll look at some music genres even I find uneasy to hear or disturbing.
I'm a huge fan of techno music. My all-time favorite genre is Frenchcore, and I really listen to it on a daily basis. I'm also familiar with obscure genres like uptempo or warstyle, which are quite uneasy to listen to. But looking deeper into the techno iceberg, especially after creating my last video, I found tracks even I
refuse to listen to. Also, this video isn't a tier list where the less obscure genres come first and get worse after time. The genres are completely random.
When creating this list, I sat down and thought of the weirdest genres I've ever heard of. One of the first that came to my mind was Hypertone. I can't really describe what's going on there. It just sounds too much, if that makes any sense. Not in a way uptempo does it, but in a way I really think it'll hurt my ears after a while listening to it. Hypertone's BPM start at 1.2 million and go to infinity. The first ever created song in this genre was Introduction to Menzi Hypertone by Zeuhl, which we'll listen to later. Hypertone is also usually amplified, because its BPM exceed the human hearing and needs to be amplified to be even hearable. All in all, it really hurts to listen to, and I'd never put on a track because I feel like it. But now, let's listen to Hypertone.
Und dann gehört das Königreich mir.
One of the most listened to able genres on this list would be Speedcore. It's not as brutal as Hypertone yet is really difficult to listen to because of its overloading effect on the brain.
Speedcore usually samples existing songs by making it faster and adding bass to it. It usually has around 270 up to 500 BPM, but CL also exceed to up to 1500 BPM. Speedcore's career started back in 1993, where DJs and other artists tried to make songs unbelievable fast. The song 1000 by Mobbies even got an entry in the Guinness Book of Records by exceeding 1000 BPM.
Let's have a listen to it. Extratone and Splittercore are subgenres of Speedcore. Both genres start at 1000 BPM and have no set maximum BPM. They tend to vary in their pitch and tempo to create an even more disturbing sound. Hypertone, which was mentioned earlier, is a subgenre of Extratone. In my opinion, listening to Extratone feels like sticking needles in your ear and trying to pull them out on the other side of your head. Just as Hypertone, I feel like doing irreversible damage to my hearing by listening to it. Tell me what you think about it. Zeuhl is a subgenre of Extratone, but doesn't differ by a faster sound. It usually uses darker topics, has more arms in its tracks, and uses slower samples. Speedcore also uses a harder sound to recreate the harsh feeling suicidal people tend to feel. My personal opinion is the same as about Extratone and the other genres before. What do you think? Noisecore, the first non-techno genre on this list, is a mix of the two genres noise and grindcore.
Typical for noise music is using noisy sounds. It usually isn't on beat too. Grindcore is a genre developing from hardcore punk and crosscore. Vocals tend to be unrecognizable and weird.
So Noisecore is a mix of weird offbeat sounds and inaudible lyrics.
Therefore, my personal listening experience while hearing it was pure suffering, to say the least.
I always felt like someone's screaming inside my walls, and police will arrive any second to put me into a mental hospital. Let's have a look at it. Renoise is an extreme variant of gore grind that combines and subverts its gore grind and grindcore elements with brash noise music.
This genre also has its roots in death metal. Lyrics are often about horror, gore, cannibalism, and violence, at all in relation with humans.
Sometimes there are sound effects in the songs which sound like they come right from a gore movie. Some people say some bands even use real gore to create a more realistic sound, or even torture people in their studios to have a more realistic gore sound. Even if those allegations aren't true, it isn't enjoyable to listen to gore noise, and I was happy when it was over.
This genre is a subgenre of gore noise. Instead of violent topic, this genre puts its focus on fetishes and sex.
I still think it sounds like Daddy Pig is being converted into bacon, and if my neighbors haven't called the police yet, they are either deaf or afraid of me. Zeuhl is determined by several characteristic elements.
Especially important are dominant rhythm fractions, usually in the form of a pumping bass guitar and sometimes sluggish or flexibly playing drum kits. Slow repetitive structures that serve to build a hypnotic atmosphere are just as prominent as solo passages of high technical finesse. Listening to Zeuhl wasn't as bad as the other genres, but trying to imagine a setting in which I listened to this music, I couldn't find one besides some strange forest cult sacrificing your firstborn to the devil himself and drinking blood from goats. I also think my neighbors thought I've started a cult and will move out in a few days.
Onkyokei is a Japanese music genre which translates to reverberation of sounds.
It is a music genre movement which puts its focus on free improvisation. There are also Japanoise elements in it.
All tracks I've listened to, including the following example, all induced on thing in my body: pain,
This genre has a very weird vibe, which I can't really explain.
Japanoise music is basically the Japanese interpretation of the music genre noise.
Just like the previous mentioned Noisecore, it focuses on the noisy part of the genre.
Japanoise also got influenced by harsh noise, another music genre. It was, again, very hard to listen to because, just like said earlier, I felt like doing irreversible damage to my body. Harsh noise, while originated in France and Japan, is described as a literal consisting, unflinching and enveloping wall of monolithic noise.
And that's really what it is. You just get hit by this type of music. This genre is in comparison to others on this list quite big. There are even whole festivals only consisting of harsh noise wall music. I personally have no words to what I've heard when listening to this type of genre.
I pray no one around me has heard what I've heard when listening to is. I've read theories that some noises aren't produced by machines or instruments, but are real humans screaming for their lives because they were tortured for the most realistic noisy sound.
NSBM stands for National Socialist Black Metal, which pretty much explains why it's on this list. It actually sounds like other black metal genres,
but its topics are centered around racism, anti-Semitism, nationalism, and other ideas from the Third Reich.
I'm no big fan of black metal, but its topics make it unlistenable for me personally.
This genre is in the same mother genre as the previous one.
DSBM stands for Depressive Suicidal Black Metal.
The genre puts its focus on topics like depression, loneliness, death, suicide, self-harm, and misanthropy, and has a mood based on these topics.
Critics say it has a negative influence on people's mental health and even brings people to unlive themselves.
Prehistoric sounds are music elements from way back then, when we used to hit each other with sticks and live in caves. This music isn't necessarily hard to listen to, but has a strange vibe to it, and most recreations sound creepy, and like they are straight from a horror movie. Treated static is centered around edited static sounds and vocals, which usually sound creepy and uneasy. This genre is on this list because of how it sounds and the weird feeling it induces into the listener. I personally think this genre is quite interesting because of its strange and creepy sound.